You already know to budget and track your spending, which is a good start. But saving money does not stop there. So here are 9 ways to save that have nothing to do with budgeting. Number 1, leave the house a little later. Because sometimes saving money isn't always about discipline, it's about fewer chances to make a decision you'll regret. Now this doesn't happen all the time, obviously, but you ever notice that sometimes the earlier you leave your house, the more money you end up spending? You might grab coffee because you have time, or maybe stop in a store just to browse, and by the time you get back home, you realize that you've spent money that you never planned on spending. Sometimes the best way to save money is to simply remove opportunities to spend it. And leaving the house later doesn't mean you have to be rushing or behind schedule. It just means you're mindful of how idle time can lead to impulse time. So for 1 week, give this a try. Start your errands or outings later in the day when you're more pressed for time and see if your spending habits change. You might find that you're more intentional with your time and less tempted to make random stops. In addition, don't let other people's upgrades become your goals. It's easy to feel like you're falling behind when people around you are upgrading everything. And if you're not careful, suddenly your perfectly good stuff starts looking outdated. But here's the thing, it's not actually outdated, it's just not new. When you stop trying to match other people's upgrades, you come to realize just how much peace comes from keeping things that already work. People upgrade for all kinds of reasons, and half the time, it's not because they needed to. But the reality is, you can't build financial freedom if you're constantly chasing someone else's timeline. And one thing to keep in mind is that every time you don't replace something that still works, you're giving your money more opportunity to work for you. It also helps to boredom-proof your weekends, because boredom and spending often go hand in hand, and this is why weekends can be so dangerous. It's like the moment your brain gets quiet, your wallet gets lighter, because there's too much unplanned time. And if you don't give your time direction, your debit card or credit card will. So before going into the next weekend, make a plan. Even if it's just cleaning out the fridge, finishing that puzzle you started months ago, or tackling one small home project. And the point isn't to stay busy nonstop. It's to have enough structure so you don't end up wandering stores for fun. Another way to save money is by simply being more content. And this isn't about settling. It's about learning to enjoy what you already have without feeling like you're missing out. But unfortunately, a lot of people mistake contentment for complacency, but they are not the same. Contentment is when you genuinely feel okay with what you have and where you are, but you can still grow or change if you want to. And when you're content, you stop always chasing the next best thing because you realize you already have enough. You can still have goals and want better for yourself, but it's not coming from a place of lack. It's also helpful to declutter before buying anything new. So before heading out, go and look at what you already own, because there is a chance that you might find that you already have something that does the same job. The problem is that clutter sometimes hides it. Once you start going through and clearing out your space, you start to recognize patterns, in which case you might discover that you've been buying different versions of the same thing for years, or stocking up on just in case items that you never use. Another thing is to spend on what saves you money later, because not all spending is bad, and sometimes spending now actually saves you more. The trick, however, is knowing the difference. For example, buying a quality pair of shoes that'll last 3 years is smarter than replacing a cheap pair every few months. So before buying something, ask yourself if it'll make it cheaper or more efficient in the long term. And if it doesn't, skip it. Because when you start viewing purchases this way, you'll realize saving money isn't always about spending less. Sometimes it's about spending smarter. In addition, you can start shopping alone. And yes, shopping with people can be more fun, but it can also be more expensive. Because friends might hype you up to buy things you wouldn't normally get, and even though they might mean well, it isn't always good for your budget. But when you shop alone, you can actually hear your own thoughts and ask yourself if you really like it or need it. You move slower, you think clearer, and you leave with fewer regrets. In addition, stop proving to yourself you're okay financially. Pride purchases can be really expensive, and this is something that we don't talk enough about. Sometimes people spend not because they need something, but because they don't want to look as if they're struggling. But here's the thing, most people aren't keeping track like you think they are, and the ones who are, well, they're probably not the people you really want by your side anyway. Plus, the only person who truly feels the financial hit from your image spending is you, and the people you're trying to impress so hard, they probably aren't going to be there to bail you out. And finally, have a quit list. Everybody talks about to-do lists, but no one talks about quit lists, which is basically where you write down the habits or purchases you've stopped doing that have helped you save money, which is basically a simple way to see your progress in real time. So maybe you quit daily coffee, paying for subscriptions, or you gave up something else. Whatever it is you quit, write it down and then revisit that list from time to time. This keeps you motivated because you're not focused on what's next. Instead, you're celebrating what you've already changed. It's easy to forget how far you've come until you see it in front of you. And when you see progress, it gets a lot easier to keep going.